Namaskaram, welcome to my channel VPK Nutrition, Mind Body Healing with Pushpa. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the importance of sleep and how lack of sleep or disturbed sleep can affect us both physically and mentally. And I will also share some studies, evidence from modern medicine that shows how they really cause a lot of the problems in our body, and also talk about some Ayurvedic approach to sleep based on the doshas. And at the end, I will share about a few tips to improve your sleep habits so you can feel healthy. So stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for my viewers who have been watching regularly and giving me comments, and also subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already done so, please do consider subscribing. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, write some comments, and also share with your friends and family who may be benefited. So let's begin with our show today. So in today's topic, we're going to be talking about sleep and how this can affect our physical, mental, and emotional health. Now, sleep again is a very essential part of human health, and it is tightly regulated. And if it is disrupted, then it leads to or worsens any health conditions. Now, insomnia is experienced when there are disruptions in our sleep, and this starts to affect on how we feel or how we function every day. So about 10% of the global population has this medical condition of insomnia. So it's very important to understand why sleep is so important and how we can help ourselves get better sleep. Now, Ayurveda also talks about sleep, and the word for sleep is nidra in Sanskrit. This is also considered to be one of the three pillars of health, the other two being ahara, which is things taken in through the senses, especially food and all of that. And the third one is brahmacharya, or self-control against a lot of this, just gratifying our sense pleasures. Now again, sleep is, so as you can see, that among 1/3 of our health is governed by the quality of our sleep. So another concept in when we talk about sleep is circadian rhythms. Now, circadian rhythms are physical, mental, and behavioral changes that go on or follow in a 24-hour period. This is usually governed by the light and the dark in the day. Again, this affects all living beings, including animals, plants, and even gut microbiome. So the one example is, of course, getting to sleep, sleeping at night time and then staying awake during the daytime. So once we go along with the rhythms of nature, we also feel healthy. And this is also the concept of Ayurveda, yatha pinde tada brahmande. And then we also, whatever is in the cosmos is in the individual. And so when we are in harmony with nature, we also feel healthy. So again, Ayurveda also has a concept of dosha clock, which is very similar to the circadian rhythm, talks about the 24-hour period, splits it up into 4-hour segments of vata, pitta, kapha time throughout the day. And so vata time would be the time of activity, pitta time would be the time of transformation, digestion, and kapha time is the time to relax and unwind. Now, I've done a detailed video about this, and I will share that link in the description. So please make sure you watch that to understand a little bit better. So the circadian rhythm also affects a lot of bodily functions. First of all, it regulates the hormones, especially the hormone melatonin is formed, which is needed for sleep, and also cortisol. The second thing is it affects our digestion. And the third thing, it affects our body temperature. So Ayurveda also gives very great importance to sleep for digestion. So if you don't get a good night's sleep, your digestion is definitely impaired and you're not digesting things very well. And also, if you look at the night time, between 10 to 2 at night is considered to be the pitta time. Like I said, pitta time is a time for digestion, transformation. So that is when you're digesting your food, digesting your thoughts, emotions, everything that you've taken on during the day has to be digested so you can feel rested and well. So if you're not getting to bed by about 10 or 11 o'clock, then definitely you're not digesting all of these things, and these things stay with you the next day and you don't feel rested. And again, it leads to a lot of stress. So that's why it's not just the amount of sleep that you're getting, but it is also the timing of your sleep is also very important according to Ayurveda. So when we follow this circadian rhythm, this dosha clock for all of these activities, you are going to feel much healthier. Many of the newer studies have shown evidence linking this inadequate sleep to a lot of the chronic illnesses we face today, like blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, arrhythmias, and also mood disorders and neurodegenerative conditions, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, and even loneliness. So again, there are lots of studies being done about this and continuing to do. And so I'm going to share some of these studies just to give you a sample of what is out there. Number one is effect on hypertension. Now, a study was done to evaluate the cross-sectional relationship between the sleep duration and hypertension in a large multinational population spanning over, from a database basically spanning over a 10-year period. So the average sleep important was given 7 hours. So anything less than that, 4, 5, 6 hours was taken from the database. And also they looked at sleep duration greater than 10 hours. So sleeping too much is also a problem or a risk factor. So let's look at the results of this study. First result was that the short sleep duration was associated with increased risk of hypertension in all age groups. Number two, the long sleep, that is greater than 10 hours only, was associated with risk for all except those who were less than 24 years old and greater than 74 years old. Number three, for both men and women, the odds ratio of having hypertension associated with short sleep duration decreases with increasing age. Number four, however, compared to the men, there is a higher association between short sleep and hypertension for women throughout the adult lifespan. Number two is the effect on obesity. So multiple meta-analysis of cohort studies were taken over a period of 10 years, and they studied the relationship between short duration of sleep against the development of obesity, both in adults and in children. So most of these studies use 7 hours as a yardstick for normal sleep. So anything less than that is considered to be short duration. So these are the results that they found from some of these studies. Now the results showed, number one, short sleep duration has been consistently associated with increased risk of obesity, whether defined based on the BMI or the waist circumference. Number two, people with short sleep duration or poor quality of sleep lost less fat mass while having a 600 kilocalorie restricted diet during a longitudinal study over 24 weeks. So for each additional hour of sleep that they got, fat loss increased by 0.77% or 0.72 kilograms. So as you can see, it not only affects increases the risk of obesity, but it also decreases the loss of fat mass. And again, that's a very important thing to remember because people don't think about these kinds of things. Now, and when you look at it from an Ayurvedic standpoint also, both of these, this lack of sleep, disturbed sleep, all of these things are Vata conditions. So when your Vata is out of balance, air and space is out of balance, you're not only having other issues like anxiety, depression, those things, and not feeling rested, but you're also not able to digest your food because Vata usually have a very erratic digestion. So again, you can see that you're not digesting your food, and that's why you're not losing that fat that you need to lose. So you have to be sleeping at that Pitta time to be able to break down a lot of that fat that we've accumulated. Number three is the effect on diabetes. Now, cross-sectional studies showed that there was a U-shaped association between the duration of sleep and the type 2 diabetes. Number one, they showed that short sleepers, 5 to 6 hours per day, have a 2 times higher odds of being diagnosed with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. Number two, long sleepers, that is greater than 10 hours, are almost at a 60% higher odds of developing type 2 diabetes compared to the normal sleepers, which is 7 to 8 hours per day. So when we try to correlate this with the Ayurvedic approach to or understanding, The short sleepers would be those who are like the Vata people, who sleep very little, so they're not getting enough sleep. And then you have the long sleepers, which is usually the Kappas who sleep for long hours, have a difficult time getting up in the morning. So if you look at the diabetes itself, it's commonly seen both in the Vata and the Kapha types more than the Pitta types. So again, kind of correlates very well with the modern findings. So, and the Vata diabetes is much harder to control because it is such an erratic thing. And these are the people with the ups and downs of the blood sugars. Kaphas, on the other hand, who sleep for a long time, is because the kapha is high, so their sugar is high. It takes a long time to digest their food because this is a metabolic disease. So in the kapha case, actually, if they cut down their sleep and practice a better diet and lifestyle and lose a little bit of weight, they can actually help themselves with the diabetes as well. Number 4, there is an effect on the energy consumption. So they've a lot of studies that show how the energy consumption is actually affected when you're not getting enough sleep. So let's see what these are. Number 1, population-based and experimental studies showed that short sleep duration or partial sleep deprivation are associated with increased hunger and increased appetite, which are reversed with sleep extension. So staying up longer can again lead to eating more, usually snacking or high carb foods or high glycemic index foods. Like I said, if you're staying up at the Pitta time at 11 o'clock, at 12 o'clock at night, the Agni is burning, the digestive fire is strong, so you start having cravings for snacks at night. And usually when you crave, you're not craving healthy things, you're actually craving desserts and chips and those kinds of things. So something to keep in mind. The second aspect of this effect on consumption is the habitual short sleep duration people have a dysregulated hormone system of ghrelin and leptin. Now, ghrelin and leptin are hormones that stimulate or decrease appetite. So ghrelin usually increases your appetite, gives you a signal to start eating or that you're hungry. And then the leptin is the one that shuts it down when you're full. So this gets disrupted when you're not getting enough sleep for a prolonged period of time. So meta-analysis studies showed that there's a 14% increase in ghrelin when you have had very short duration of sleep for a long time. So when you compare this to Ayurvedic, again, we look at that you're not getting enough sleep, then you reach for snacks at night. That Pitta time at night I mentioned, you start reaching for snacks, and it's usually the unhealthy snacks that we're eating, again leading to weight gain and all of these other problems we've talked about so far. Number 5 is effect on the gut or gut microbiome or the GI system. So here again, there are studies that show there is a big association between lack of sleep or quality or duration to GI diseases like dyspepsia, which is basically indigestion, inflammatory bowel disease, and irritable bowel syndrome, and even GERD. And all of these are related to the disruptions in the circadian rhythm and also the quality of the gut microbiome. So the research shows that there is a reverse reciprocal relationship between the gut microbiome and the internal clock, both in animal and human models. Now again, they found that this may be because the gut microbiome is acting as a mediator, causing these negative health consequences by impacting the circadian rhythms or disrupting the circadian rhythms. So simply put, it is not really the sleep itself that is doing it. Because of the sleep problems, our gut dysbiosis happens, or the microbiome is not very of good quality. We don't have healthy gut microbiome, and that in turn causes these problems of all these chronic illnesses and things like that. Now, when we look at it from an Ayurvedic point of view, Ayurveda gives so much of emphasis to digestion again. So again, going back to the same principle that Ayurveda always talks about is the digestion. Again, all of our digestion takes place because of the healthy gut or healthy gut microbiome. So if we are disrupting the gut microbiome, then we are going to have a lot of issues. So again, all of these studies have shown that sleep is a huge part of our life. In fact, half the time we are sleeping, 50% of our days are spent sleeping. So again, we need to give more importance to that so that we can remain healthy. Now that I've convinced you that how important sleep is and what all problems can happen because of sleep, again, I didn't mention the neurodegenerative conditions and also the anxiety and depression that is also related to sleep. Again, there are a lot of studies to talk about these things. I couldn't cover everything today, but again, they all kind of go together in one big package. So now that I've convinced you, I have to give you some solutions, right? So I'm going to share a few tips that you can start with right now if you're having problem with sleep, or even if you don't, try to follow a certain routine to keep you healthy. So let's look at them one by one. Number one, set a bedtime at the same time every night, preferably between 10 to 11 p.m. following the dosha clock. Again, watch that video. I have the link in the description. Number two, establish a good sleep routine. So turn off the screens 30 minutes before bedtime. The blue screen activates your brain and produces cortisol, which again can be very difficult to relax. So do that. Number three, try to do some positive, soothing things like writing a gratitude journal, reading a book, or listening to some music. Number four, avoid eating at least 2 hours before bedtime. Number five, avoid caffeine after 3 p.m. because then it's going to make it very difficult to sleep. Number six, alcohol can also be disruptive to sleep in the later part of the night, so pay attention to your sleep patterns. Number seven, if you have trouble sleeping or falling asleep, then do some breathing exercises to induce sleep. Chandra Bedana or left nostril breathing can be very cooling for the body and help you fall asleep. Chandra Bedana again can be done with just the left nostril. So this is how you start. You close the bottom part of your right nostril with your thumb and then just inhale through the left nostril. Again, you're doing only nasal breathing. And then you close this and exhale through the right. Again, don't inhale through the right. Close the right nostril again. Again, inhale through the left. And then continue that. The other thing you can do is, if you really want to fall asleep, you can also just to inhale and exhale through the left nostril alone. Now you can do that about 10 times or a few times to help you fall asleep. Number 8, Bhramari Pranayama or B breath is another cooling breath but can be done. Do about 10 times to relax the mind. I'd like to show you a demonstration of the Bhramari breath. First, take your thumbs and close the upper flap of the ears over here, both sides, like you can't hear anything. And then you keep your hands over here, your fingers, and then inhale through the nose and then exhale also through the nose, but with a sound like the buzzing bee sound. That can be very relaxing for the mind, and you can do a few of those as well to help you sleep. Number 9, apply some warm sesame oil at the soles of your feet to relax the nerves and help you get some good night's sleep. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Again, I shared a lot of information, evidence-based medicine, showing that sleep is very important, and very much a lot of those principles also are supported by Ayurveda. They also support Ayurvedic principles. So again, hopefully you're convinced that sleep is very important. If you have been kind of neglecting your sleep, not getting to bed on time, and having a lot of issues, please start taking care of that part of your life, because remember, we spend about 8 hours a night, which is like 1/4 of our time every day sleeping. It's not 50%, it's 1/4. Of course, for some it may be 50%, I don't know. But again, I've also shared about 10 tips, a couple of breathing techniques that I've also demonstrated. So try some of those things. Again, listen to your body. observe your mind and help yourself. And again, if the breathing, if it gets lightheaded or something, then don't do it. It is always good to learn from a proper teacher. I just showed it for demonstration purposes. But again, you can try it on your own and see if it works for you. And again, remember avoiding caffeine, alcohol. These are some things that are going to help you also with a better night's sleep. So hope you sleep better this week. Have a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you next week with a new episode. Listen to your body, observe your mind, and heal yourself. Have a good day.